WNBA union denounces transgender hate following Sophie Cunningham backlash. The Women's National Basketball Players Association denounced hate, abuse, and demonization of the transgender community in a statement Friday amid public uproar over Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham's recent stance against trans participation in women's sports. In its statement, the union called on fans to report anyone spreading hateful rhetoric at games. It did not reference Cunningham by name or weigh in on whether trans people should be able to compete freely, but stated broadly that the union exists to protect women's sports while creating transformational change. Advertisement, hate, abuse, and demonization of any group of people, including transgender people, only fuel fear, division, and harm, the statement said. We will continue to have hard conversations.
Then I found Lulu Talks tea and everything shifted. Once I started drinking it, my mornings were ruined in the sense that they'd never be the same again. I began waking up feeling rested and energized, something I hadn't experienced in years. My new routine? Just 1 cup of Lulu Talks in the morning. On top of that, my menopause symptoms have eased significantly. I finally feel like myself again, strong, confident, and like a woman who's ready to take on the day.
Curious what makes it different? Scan the QR code now or visit grabdeal.us/8.
But we will not be used as political pawns. Support the fans. Cunningham became a central figure on the issue after ESPN quoted her in a July 21 story as saying she wants to protect young girls in a locker room and that they shouldn't have to go against biological men. The matter gained additional traction when Cunningham reiterated her stance a day later. I think it's kind of common sense, Cunningham said before the Fever's July 22 win over the Connecticut Sun. And I think I'll always believe in that. Though the Fever guard later said she is not a very political person, and that she has never once stated that I hated the trans community. Her remarks have prompted competing rallies by critics and supporters outside Fever games. Later, she posed for a picture with Riley Gaines, a Fox News personality and former collegiate swimmer who has become a face of efforts to keep trans athletes out of women's sports. Some prominent WNBA figures have spoken out against Cunningham's comments. Celeste Keaton, a co-owner of the Seattle Storm, was suspended and fined for an interaction with 2 teenage girls inside Seattle's Climate Pledge arena last week. The girls, who sat courtside during the game and held up signs supporting Cunningham, said Keaton approached them, cursed and called them insane during the game. Cunningham was booed throughout the Fever's game at the Minnesota Lynx on Sunday, during which Lynx coach Cheryl Reeve wore a shirt declaring, "Trans kids belong." Cunningham, in turn, has criticized the reaction to her comments, calling it a distraction and saying the WNBA should embrace the moment to prove it cares about diversity and inclusion. I truly believe there is a safe space and love for everybody. Biological girls, biological boys, trans women, and trans men. Bravo to those girls for standing up for what they believe. You'll be hearing from https://t/co/g/if-wh-3q Sophie Cunningham at Softfuller, July 30, 2026. Vice President J.D. Vance has also voiced his support for Cunningham's position, telling her to keep going. Advertisement, you actually are inspiring a dozen people for every person that criticizes you, Vance said on Fox News this week. And we cannot take our country back. We cannot save the United States of America unless you have people of courage who are speaking their mind. As part of her comments, Cunningham has noted the importance of Title IX, a federal law prohibiting sex discrimination in educational programs that receive federal funding. The 1972 policy is associated with increasing participation in girls' and women's sports and is at the center of transgender sports debates. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports, Cunningham said. If Title IX and women's sports weren't protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so, I think in the future, it's just really important to protect. Transgender participation in sports has become a central culture war issue in recent years. Supreme Court upheld individual state bans on trans athletes, competing alongside cisgender athletes on July 30, a year after President Donald Trump attempted to block trans athletes from competing in girls' and women's sports via an executive order. Cunningham is in her second season with the Fever, who acquired her from the Phoenix Mercury in a February 2025 trade. She re-signed with Indiana on a one-year deal in April. Cunningham is averaging 9.1 points per game and shooting 44.8% on three-pointers. The Fever next travel to Chicago to play the Sky on Saturday.